Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. I'm your host, James Gardner, certified athletic therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, yoga instructor, human being. This platform, for the pros, by the pros, anybody in the performance space, and beyond. Welcome here to share in the stories of professionals, experiences, journeys, learning along the way. It's a platform to connect, to network, and to be a part of a community that cares, with conversations that matter, experiences that resonate, and generate ideas, thought-provoking, organic dialogue, passionate pros. Brought to you as always by First Star Therapy, Mobility Tape, Epic, and Benchmark Athletics. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association. It's First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. Welcome to First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable brought to you by First Star Therapy. I'm your host, James Gardner, and this is a platform for the pros, by the pros. Passionate pros, organic dialogue. Let's chat. Thanks for listening. Let's roll. All right, and away we go. Session 63, First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable brought to you by First Star Therapy and Mobility Tape, the only heat-activated kinesiology tape on the market. Also brought to you by Live Epic. Epic is your way to your lifestyle, and Benchmark Athletics being the benchmark in printing apparel for sports in association with the Canadian Athletic Therapy Association. Session 63, Jesse Litsch is our guest this afternoon. And Jess, before you say hi, I'll just go through your bio here and we'll jump into your story. I know you're a busy guy, so we'll keep it to a limited time frame today. Places to go, people to see. Jesse Litsch, a retired Major League Baseball pitcher who amassed 27 wins in his career, all as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff. Spanning from 2007 to 2011, he notched a career-best 13 wins in 2008 with an ERA of 3.58. Litsch made his Major League debut in 2007 with the Blue Jays, filling in for the injured Roy Halladay. Over 8 2/3 innings, the most innings pitched by any Blue Jay in his debut. Jesse allowed only 4 hits with 2 walks and 1 run while recording 21 of his 26 outs via ground ball. Relevant to this educational series, on April 14th, 2009, Jesse was sent to the 15-day disabled list because of a right forearm strain. On June 9th, nearly 2 months later, it was announced that Litsch would undergo season-ending Tommy John surgery. He made his first major league start since the surgery just over a year later, on the 13th of June, 2010, against the Colorado Rockies. Jesse, thanks for taking the time to be here, man. Really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, lots going on, probably busier now than when you're pitching in the big leagues, huh?
Yeah. I mean, great to be here, but it's always easy to do stuff like this.
I appreciate you carving in the time, and we're doing an education series on Tommy John. We had a guy that you know very well lead it off, and Mike Frostad. He kind of went over the diagnosis and all the surgical procedures and the rehab, and we want to jump in with you again, limited time. So let's go back in time and sort of figure out where things were at for you. You debuted in the big leagues in 2007. You have surgery in 2009. Prior to that Tommy John surgery, did you have sort of any knowledge of what Tommy John was? Obviously, other guys were having it. Did you ever fear that injury prior to undergoing it?
I mean, definitely it's something that you learn about being within professional baseball. It's something that guys tend to have a little more often nowadays. Back then, it was becoming more of a thing. And you see guys rehabbing, and there was really no timetable. I think the timetable was 12 months at that time. I mean, that's kind of when I made it back to the big leagues, was 12 months. So it was something that about as a pitcher, because pitching is technically an unnatural motion throwing over top. And, it's something that you hear, you see, especially being in a clubhouse and a training room, but you never really expect yourself to have it, especially me. I mean, I was a two-way guy in college. I hit, I pitched. I always thought I had a rubber arm, and then that hits, and it's kind of one of those things where you're taken back, and you either take it and run with it, or you can kind of give up, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, and all of the takes from that are relevant. As practitioners, we don't necessarily educate prior to until the event happens, and then it may be too late. Then we're talking about the psychological things and all those other things. You're either on board with it or you're not. You're fighting an uphill battle either way. So knowing a little bit through other people's experiences, in looking back, was there anything that you feel might have led to that surgery, or was it just like throwing for the amount of time that you threw, or was there a heightened workload? Anything that comes to mind for you and your experience with it that may have sort of led to that injury in your case?
I mean, not technically. I mean, I know I did throw a lot as a kid. I threw, I'd pitch and then play third base. Like even in college, like we'd pitch, I'd play second or third the day after pitching, 85, 90 pitches. But, nothing specifically comes out and says, hey, like, this is what happened. I remember my last start in spring training, 2009, and I felt a little something, but never thought anything of it. It was just a twinge, right? And went the first start, fine. Second start, first inning, boom, done. Feel it. And I continued to pitch 3 more innings, probably shouldn't have, but definitely a ton of pain, a ton of velo drop. Like it's something that you don't expect it to be you, but it came about the way it did. And there's no way, like looking back and you're like, oh, what could I have done differently? Like really there's nothing you could have done differently. You just played baseball, and it's one of those freak accidents that's becoming more and more of a thing, but it is a very, very high recovery rate. It's just it's a mindset of going through the 16-month rehab process that they're giving everyone now.
Right. And we'll get to sort of that as well, because it sort of did shift, right? It made a drastic swing, like let's get guys back as quickly as possible. And then it went to like 18 months, and it's kind of swung somewhere in the middle now with sort of what the standard protocol is to recovery. So you felt it a little bit early on, and this is interesting because it kind of ties back to where we were talking with Mike Frostad a couple of weeks ago on this, in terms of, a lot of these are affiliated or associated with some flexor tendonitis or some pronator issues prior to that. We can go in and look at the UCL, and the UCL can look maybe okay or a little bit interrupted, but COVID times, no problem. I got 2 on this side. We look at the flexor mass and we look at like damage that way, and we say like, okay, maybe there's a precursor, maybe there's not. But in your case, was there anything other than the UCL with the surgery? Was it a reconstruction of the UCL? Was there flexor damage as well in yours, or nerve transfer?
So
any of those things you remember?
I mean, I know exactly. Like it's one of those things where like I tried the rehab process and everything was fine. Everything was fine. I got through my the training room stuff, throwing bullpens, throwing live BPs, got into game. And when you're in a game, you kind of kick it up a notch. And, this is why from April 14th to June 2nd, I didn't have a surgery, because like we tried the rehab process. And my first start back, I remember throwing fine, and then I finally threw a curveball, and that's kind of where it was, right? So the actual the pronation or the get through of a curveball kind of made it to where like, okay, like I'm done, like let's have the surgery. I've made it here. I'll be back 12 months from here next year. Like the next day I was in surgery, and Dr. Andrews, and it was a quick process. We kind of had an idea of what it might be, but let's give it a valiant effort of getting through. So when they went in, it was not there. It was totally detached. It was dangling, and there was nothing that they would have been able to do rehab wise, because it literally was not there. It was detached totally.
Right. And that's a great take, a great insight as well, is sort of like take the conservative approach first. If we can avoid surgery, we need to, but in this case, a surgery was necessary. So you talk about completely detached, a ruptured UCL, a small little ligament that seems meaningless until you throw a baseball at max velocity or try to throw curveballs and these kinds of other things. So not much way around it. The surgery for you, obviously, you're out during the surgery, but coming out the other side, what did things look like? You talk about, okay, I have a set date in mind. You kind of have a 12-month window that you can, I guess, to the best of your knowledge, navigate, because you have, 12 months. This is how it's going to look. This is how it's going to play out. Coming out the other side of the surgery, the first few days a little bit rough. Like, when did you sort of get comfortable in the rehab process, or did you ever, coming out of that one?
So I went in with a pretty good mindset of like, this is what I got, and I got to make it back in 12 months. We were playing in Colorado. I had a lot of family in Colorado, basically a month and a day after the surgery. So, or a year and a day after the surgery. So that was kind of my mindset. Like, I want to pitch in Colorado. So we went through the whole process of, this is when I'm going to pitch. This is when I'm going to make it back. And let's work backwards from there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was good, smooth. Everything was going good. Flexibility, strength, everything was great. I remember in the middle, they're starting to throw. I threw one and I heard a pop. And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. Like, I just tore it again. But it wasn't anything but scar tissue breaking. And that was kind of a huge thing for me, because like, mindset, like, oh boy, this is bad. But going in and getting another MRI, and the doctor saying, oh, you're fine, it was just scar tissue. Like, okay, now I know this. If I feel it again, this is what it is, right? So that kind of helped me psychologically, in a sense of, I'm going to just keep throwing. And if I feel something, it's probably scar tissue. So I'm just going to keep going through it. And that helped me a ton. I mean, I remember, I think my first actual like rehab start, I was supposed to go like 60 pitches, and I ended up going 6 innings or something like that. Like, it was like Hap Hudson was like, he was making some, like, I don't know what to do. Like, let's keep you out there. You're supposed to get to 60 pitches. Like, I'm thinking they were thinking 3 to 4 innings, and I'm at 50 through 5 or 48 through 5. And they're like, well, because anytime a big leaguer goes down to rehab in high A, like, they're just swinging. So me throwing tons of strikes, I might not have had many strikeouts, but I didn't give up. I might have given up 1 run, maybe a couple hits, but like, they were on first pitches, right? Like, yeah. So second start, 7 innings, like on 70 pitches. It was just like, and they didn't really, like, Dane Johnson was calling Hap, like, what are we doing? Like, why is he throwing 7? Like, look how many pitches he threw. There's nothing, like, what do you want me to do? You want me to just limit the pitches or limit the innings? Like, are we going innings or pitches here? And that's kind of where, like, I may or may not have been a guinea pig for the organization in that sense. But, it's kind of one of those things where I felt great. Like, there was no timidness. Like, here it is. Like, and then made it exactly back a year and a day to the time I set my goal to. And I think that helped mentally. Like, here's my goal. Here's what I'm going to do. And it's something to strive for.
Yeah, man, that's great. And I think that mental piece is massive. And we're touching on it more and more now through COVID and sort of like losing seasons and what's left and all these other things, as I'm sure you're familiar. It's really interesting to hear that take, and obviously a bit of an anomaly, right? Like a strike thrower, lots of ground balls, lots of early swings, going through the rehab process in the minor leagues, a little bit different because you're not facing big league hitters. And nowadays it's like everybody's got an approach to make sure they see a certain number of pitches. But in your case, yeah, just blowing through innings because the pitches you're so efficient in your pitch count. So good stuff. That gives us a little bit of insight, or people who aren't familiar with the baseball space, in terms of what the considerations are on the other side of the rehab. You talked about goal setting, and you talked about getting to that 12-month mark, and getting back out there in Colorado in front of your family and some friends out there, which is amazing to stay on track. Were there setbacks along the way that you didn't expect with the rehab, or was it all pretty straightforward? The training staff knew, you knew that there was going to be some little hiccups along the way, but knew what to do with those?
I mean, realistically, like, I felt 100%, but once I got back, once you're starting to face big league hitters, you're starting to face guys that know the game or play the game at a higher level, like you could tell, like my stuff wasn't working the way I wanted. Like you hear the stories of like, you probably won't get your best stuff back right away. And I saw that firsthand. I didn't expect it to be as, I guess much of an uphill battle,
Yeah.
but it was right. My first start, I go to Colorado, I give up 8 runs in 2 innings. Like, oh boy, like what am I doing? And second start, I faced the World Series champions that year, and I go 8 innings scoreless. Like, okay, like interesting. Like what happened? Then the next start, it was back down the hill, and then back up the hill. Like I didn't get a win till like 6 starts back, and it was a struggle for me mentally, but like I was still competing and I was still out there, and there was flashes of good, flashes of bad, right? And it's tough being a competitor at that level, knowing that you might not have your best stuff, and here it is, right? Like, but in a same sense, like you have to battle through it.
Yeah. Is that feel piece? Like, we had Zani on here a couple weeks ago, and he was talking, after surgery, there's his sort of take on it was interesting. It's like, no matter what happens, if somebody goes in and cuts on you and makes a change to your anatomy, like you're different at the other side. That feel piece for you, obviously kind of big. You got to locate certain pitches, your fingers on the ball. Was that kind of the struggle for you as well? Like when it wasn't going well, you could sense that like you weren't feeling it either in terms of like either ball release or touch points. Like what was that like?
Honestly, no. Like I felt like I had good stuff. I just, you go back and look at video, like maybe your arm speed isn't up to par with what you're used to. Maybe you're, now they talk about spin rate and they talk about all this other stuff that's analytically whatever, right? But, for me, I was always a cutter guy. And if I wasn't getting through the cut, if I wasn't getting through the ball, it wasn't moving as much as I needed. So maybe the RPMs that I was putting force through, it might have been a harder thing, right? But for how I physically felt, I felt like I had good stuff. It's just a matter of being able to get to where I guess my arm speed needed to be or whatever it might have been. Like I don't think there's any way of telling what it is. Maybe now with all the data and stuff that you might be able to find that stuff out. But for me back in 2009, there was nothing like that, right? So it's kind of like touch, feel, here we go. Like, and then go back and watch video and see what your ball's doing. Okay, it wasn't moving as much as it was a year ago. So something obviously is there. It's just a matter of how are we going to either fix it or adjust and make the pitch different, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where it was. I don't think I felt differently. It's just a matter of how the ball moved and what I saw. But, 6 months or the next season, everything would kind of felt back to normal, right? Like everything was moving the way it needed to. So, that's kind of where I think they might have came up with the 18-month mark because your stuff wasn't per se back to where it needed to be.
Right. It's also pretty difficult, right? And I mean, you would know it better than me, obviously, in playing and pitching in the big league level. You can't simulate the major league environment anywhere else other than in the big leagues, right? So like that competition and all those things that would play a role of like trying to figure this out on a big league mound with those guys that you're facing on the other side. That kind of brings some added difficulty, I guess, in navigating that. So you talk about like that next season, up and down, and then the season after that, you kind of got back to normal. Finally, at that point, did anything change in sort of your regimen afterwards, after that Tommy John surgery, in terms of your preparedness? Was there more stuff on the flexor pronator, more stuff on the rotator cuff? I mean, I was part of it. I understand that there's already programs in place, and we kind of accept ulnar collateral ligament damage as part and parcel of the pitcher. Like that's going to happen, and there's not necessarily one thing that leads to it. But did anything change for you afterwards?
I would say, realistically, that August, I had to have a hip surgery. So I kind of got thrown into coming back rehab from the Tommy John, and then I had hip surgery in August. So I only pitched maybe 8-9 starts, whatever it was, before having to have another surgery. And I had that injury all through college. So it was kind of one of those things where I felt like I was volunteered to have the surgery because my stuff wasn't there at the time, but that's just the way I thought. But like, as far as the rehab, for the elbow stuff, like it felt normal. Like I felt like I knew it's all about how you take it. Like, do you know you have a new arm now? Like, yeah, I did. Like, I felt like it's a totally new arm. It's not going to hurt again. So just keep doing what you're doing prior to the Tommy John, because it's just the same thing you had before. And that's kind of how I went about it. Right. And that it became easier and easier. And 2011 had a great season. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. But I can tell you this, like, I developed some shoulder stuff. What that came from, I don't know. I mean, there has been talks of that leading into shoulder stuff, and because you're doing different things. So I don't know if that's the case. I can't sit here and say one way or the other, but I got to believe that it probably had some kind of a factor into it of some sort,
right?
You know, because you are doing way more stuff than you were doing prior to because of your rehab. And it's a different strain on your body, a different strain on your shoulder, on your throwing mechanics. So it definitely probably was something in that regards, but I don't think there's anything proven that that is a thing.
Yeah, right. I mean, the first surgery is the first surgery, but for the most part, you know, we'd have to go and do a study on that. But like the first surgery sometimes can create a cascade of other things happening down the line, whether they're related or not. Maybe it was a breaking point, who knows? But again, just referring back to our last guest was Greg Zahn, and never had an injury in his life until his first surgery, and after that he had a bunch, you know. And so maybe it just sets us off, or maybe it is sort of just kind of that fluke or that time of the season or career or whatever it might be. There's a lot of science behind all of this. Now you're doing some different stuff these days. Obviously, you're doing some scouting work. You're doing some stuff down there. Give us like 2 minutes. I know you got to run. What you're doing there, and do you share this stuff with athletes that you work with now in terms of your understanding of the body and your understanding of, obviously you've had a number of surgeries and they interrupted your career and cut it short. Do you share this stuff openly with athletes to sort of allow them to see how quickly things could change?
Oh yeah, definitely. So, I mean, after my playing career, I ended up I rehabbed for 2 years trying to make it back. I had seven shoulder surgeries, which was nuts, but I have a knack to stay around the game of baseball, right? So I went to China and helped develop baseball in China. So
Amazing.
That was obviously something that was not existent there. So I definitely helped with the process of, the arm care there, the stuff like that. And then coming back, worked in indie ball and then worked for the Braves for 2 years. So I went down to the Dominican. They don't really have anything down there. And I was down there for a full season, and they ended up giving me the rehab coordinator job. So obviously this stuff led into the rehab coordinator job. There's no doubt in my mind, but that only lasted for a year, and decided to open up my own academy here. And coaching, obviously, I do think there's a lot of coaches that really don't care about the kids down here. They just go out and throw. I mean, I was just reading today, like a kid that's 11 years old threw 115 pitches in a game this weekend. It's just crazy. And for me, it's about arm care. And I really stress the value of arm care, the pitch counts and stuff like that. Like, I never threw over 85 pitches until I got to the big leagues. Like, people don't realize that. Like, I threw first time I ever threw 100 pitches was my first start in the big leagues, like, ever. Right. And it's something that I teach kids here. I try and, give them as much knowledge as possible. I know the game has changed with drive line and data and all this stuff now, but it's still like, you're still throwing a baseball, and you're still having to help with the muscles that are around it. It might not necessarily be the big muscles. It's the little muscles that go around it that try and help to facilitate everything that goes on with a non-throw. Like, with a it's a throwing. Like, throwing is not normal. Like, it's something that we're not made to do. Underhand is one thing, but like overhand is not made to do, from everything that I've learned. Right. And it's the knowledge that I'm able to give from past experiences. It wouldn't be good if I wasn't able to talk about it. Like, everyone that has something or had something should do that. Right. Like, learn. Like, I tell everyone, I'm going to learn you. Like, that's just kind of my thing. I'm going to learn you. Right. And, and they listen. And the guys that have been around me have seen that it actually works a little bit. Obviously, you're gonna have your kids that get injured every now and again, but like it's something that it definitely looks different from other organizations, but we probably have less arm stuff than other organizations, right? So that's kind of where I don't care if you're at 4 innings and you have a no hitter at 85 pitches, you're done. Like simple. Like this ain't the big leagues. When you get to the big leagues and they're paying you millions of dollars, they can make that decision for you. Here, right. I'm gonna make the decision. Like
Yeah,
simple.
that's beautiful, man. And I think it comes down to in reflecting in my time in the pro space, and obviously you as a pitcher, that's a big voice to hear from somebody who pitched at the highest level possible. Again, like 27 wins of the big leagues, nothing to shake your head about. 13 wins in one season, like man, you've been there, you've done that, you've learned a lot of lessons, and I think it comes back around. And good on you, man. Very proud of that. To hear you say that you're putting this back into the foundation and into the youth of tomorrow, the pitchers of today, but the future of tomorrow, because it goes a long way. The educational piece is massive, and I think that comes from your experiences and everything that you had exposure to as well. Listen, man, I know you got to run. I know you got a lot of things on the go here, so I'll thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here, Jesse. Good to see you again, sharing your story, and maybe we'll get you on again in the future, talking with a panel of some other guys and about some other things. It's been a pleasure, man. It was always a pleasure to be around you. I'm glad to see you're well, and really happy to hear that you're doing all the things that you're doing.
Yeah, man, definitely. Likewise, whenever I'm always open to this kind of stuff, because it's the more knowledge people can hear from people that have been through it. I mean, I think it's going to help, wave the next wave of our future, right? The kids that are coming up, like any coaches that might hear this, any parents, any kids, like it's something that's very important, near and dear to my heart, obviously, but like, there is a rhyme and a reason to what we do and how we get through it, right? And if the more people that learn about it, I think the better off the next wave will be.
Absolutely, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks again for your time. Get on out of here, and we'll be in touch, okay?
All right, man. We'll see you.
All right, take care. That's Jesse Litsch, session 63, first start. Let's chat an athletic therapy round table. As always, you can collect your CEUs through membership. That is $10 a month, and you get access to 0.4 CEUs for every session that you do a quiz for. That's through www.firststartherapy.com/courses. Our membership gives access to you, the certified therapist, for CEUs. So interesting talk with Jesse today, and he had to run early. And, I think this is crucial. I think it's critical to have athletes that have been through it, to walk through it and talk through it. And we learn as practitioners from talking to these athletes and hearing just what it takes to go through. And we're going to have Jesse on again, and we're going to have some other athletes on again, talking about beyond the physical, that mental component, because Jesse touched on it a few times in terms of his assessment of where things were at and where things were going. And it's a critical part. And so having access as a practitioner to people who can help with that side of things as well, but also being open enough as a practitioner to listen, to be able to hear what the athletes are saying. And timelines are great, and timelines are things that are necessary with athletes, especially at the pro space, to have targets. But we can also expect some interruptions along the way. We didn't get into it with Jesse because this is, a little bit more focused on Tommy John and the UCL and the elbow forearm injuries in the throwing athlete. But he's had 10 surgeries total, and a career that seemingly, 27 wins over 4 and a bit years in the big leagues is pretty amazing. A 13-win season in Major League Baseball with an ERA under 3.6. There's not too many of those. And Jesse was never a high velo or a high velocity thrower, but he was a thrower. And what is that damage that's happening on a micro level that may turn into a macro level over the course of a career? And Jesse's always really knowledgeable about his body, obviously, as you can hear him speaking, and now amazing to hear what he's doing down in the Florida area and in the sport of baseball, across the world, going to China, coming back in the US, and still have some good dialogue with him from across the border here. So UCL injuries, this is part 2 of 4 of our series. We still have another one coming up at the end of the month, part 3, and then we're scheduling in part 4 with another athlete who has been through the surgery and recovered on that road as well. So First Star Let's Chat, where we're going. We have another one live this Sunday evening. We'll have Clay Williams, an ultra marathon runner. He'll be on this Sunday at 7:45, and then we'll wrap the month of March up with Dr. Andrew Robb and part 3 of 4 of the Tommy John series. He's a sports chiropractor, done a ton of research with Major League Baseball, working again at the grassroots level as well as the highest level possible with his research. He'll be on to close out March. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy roundtable brought to you by First Star Therapy Mobility Tape. The only heat-activated kinesiology tape on the market, a no-brainer for you, the practitioner, a no-brainer for you, the athlete. Natural product, get it on you, ask questions, more than happy to answer. Also brought to you by Epic, EPOCH. Check them out at live.epic on Instagram and at Benchmark Athletics on Instagram as well. In association with the Canadian Athletic Therapists Association, this is James Gardner, your host, signing off. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of this community. Check us out online, firststartherapy.com. That's FIRSTAR therapy.com. Or email us with feedback, consult@firststartherapy.com. CONSULT@firststartherapy.com. On Instagram @firststar.therapy, and our podcast host @letschat.at. This is First Star Let's Chat, an athletic therapy podcast.